Well, again, good morning, and it's good to be with you all today in worship. I know in my own life that I've often had internal conversations with God, internal conversations where I tend to negotiate with God. Have you all ever done that? In these past conversations, I've typically said something like, God, I believe in you. I trust in you. I have faith that you're leading my life, and I want to follow wherever you may lead me. But I really hope, God, that you lead me into this specific kind of job. And I hope that you lead me into this marriage, to this person. And God, I really hope that you lead me to have children. And also, God, I hope that you lead me to live in this kind of house filled with all this kind of big, beautiful stuff inside of it. And God, I also hope that you'll allow me to have this kind of car and that you'll allow me to live in this kind of specific city. Okay, may your will be done. Amen. And then as life does, things begin to unfold not as I would expect them to, right? And then I kind of renegotiate with God. Okay, God, maybe I won't have that kind of car. Maybe I can't afford that kind of house in that neighborhood. But God, I still hope that you'll lead me to have this kind of ideal job. And God, I still want to be married and I still want to have kids. And God, can I still live in this specific city? Can we make that happen, God? And this cycle continues. I keep going back to the negotiating table with God again and again. I keep hoping that somehow God's plans for my life will line up with my plans for my life. And I say all of this because I think in the world that we live in, we're taught to have this perfect, ideal image of what life ought to be. To have this ideal job, to be in this ideal relationship with ideal kids, wink, wink, in an ideal house filled with beautiful, expensive things, and that we can make an ideal amount of money so that we can take perfect, ideal vacations. So I think perhaps sadly that we're inculcated by society to expect false ideals, to want more, to have more, to be the best, and to own the best. And as most of us have found out the hard way, life doesn't typically give us that ideal. In the gospel today, we find James and John, two of Jesus' disciples, asking Jesus for a very unique request. Allow us to sit at your right hand and at your left hand, Jesus, in your glory. Now, we can only assume that by glory they mean heaven or some kind of place of honor in the afterlife. For now, we don't know why they asked Jesus for this. Maybe they want to be validated as the most faithful disciples. Maybe they want some kind of recognition for all that they've left behind, for all the work that they've done. Whatever their motivations, Jesus is hesitant. You don't know what you're asking, he says to them. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink? Or to be baptized with the baptism that I'm baptized with? Jesus has predicted his death before, and typically the disciples misunderstand him. They don't typically get it. He's not the kind of Messiah that they anticipated. For Jesus, glory isn't heaven. The glory that these disciples apparently want to be a part of is death. It's the cross. And Jesus doesn't believe that they fully get that. I've said it many times, discipleship, to follow in the ways of Jesus, is a very difficult endeavor. And it's not something I invite people into lightly. It's not something to be converted into. It's a journey, it's a path, and a difficult one at that. And so I think we too, like James and John, don't always get it. We have ideas of what discipleship is supposed to be. We have these false ideals, but discipleship may not be what we expect at all, and it may take us to places that we don't want to go. I think we often view James and John in this gospel passage that we heard today as seeking power, as seeking notoriety, as wanting to sit on the right hand and the left of Jesus. We see them in kind of an arrogant light, I think. But what if that's not the case at all? What if James and John had finally caught a glimpse of what Jesus had been saying? He'd been telling them and all of his disciples again and again, the Son of Man is to be betrayed into human hands, and they will kill him. He told them the Son of Man must undergo great suffering. What if all of his teaching was finally making sense to James and John? What if it finally clicked? And what if it scared them? What if it scared them? What if they truly feared what life would be like without their Messiah and friend leading them in life? When faced with uncertainty, we want certainty. When faced with unknowns, we want security. That is what it is to be human, I believe. And so maybe James and John simply wanted to know with absolute certainty that there'd be a place for them with Jesus in this unknown, apprehensive future that lay before them. In the past year, I've heard and seen again and again the slogan that says, "Faith drives out fear." Have y'all seen that? Faith drives out fear. And when I see that slogan, I'll admit, I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. And I think I feel that way because this slogan has been used wrongly to tell us that we shouldn't have any fear about a global pandemic, that if we got faith, we're good. So I think it's been misused. But I think that slogan could be modified. I think what it ought to say is faith allows me to walk towards fear. Faith allows me to walk towards fear. In a fear-driven world, we need a faith that doesn't discount fear and uncertainty, but instead allows us to face it. And when we feel that we can't face it, we have an abiding God to lean upon. In this gospel today, Jesus says to James and to John, "The cup that I drink, you will drink. And with the baptism with which I'm baptized, you will be baptized." These words often sound like a threat, as in, make no mistake, you'll get what's coming to you. But what if we instead hear these words as a promise? What if they're a promise? What if what Jesus means is that we won't always have to let fear dominate us? We won't always fear the unknown. What if his cup and his baptism are meant to free us from fear, from anxiety, from our need of security, from always wanting certainty? What if all of this means that we will indeed be able to walk towards fear, towards the unknown, towards the cross, and then find new life? What if that's what he means? Discipleship is a risk and a challenge. And I say it's not for the faint of heart. To do what you all are doing today, to get up and get the kids ready and to come here and worship, that is a difficult task a lot of weeks, because it means we have to be vulnerable and disciplined. And we have to put our faith in something unknown and unseen and uncertain. So I commend you all for that. But discipleship asks us to leave behind all of those ideals that we hope for in life, to accept things we may not want to accept. It asks us not to believe that the goal of life is to attain success and wealth and the security of a family and a home. Discipleship asks us to accept a path of uncertainty, a path of unknowns, a path of servanthood, with only the promise that we won't face this future alone, that God will give us the faith to endure every hill and every valley, and that God will abide with us through it all. That's the promise that we have and the promise that we cling to. May we believe it, may we live it. May the peace of God be with all of you today. Amen.